Most, if not all, golfers' struggles start with this one issue: the golf club lies to you. The golf club, by its design and rigidity and the heavy, dense weight at the end, make you react to its center of mass. It makes you try to feel like you have to use the center of mass to make it swing. And that is exactly what makes golf difficult for everybody to learn. To have an effective golf swing, you have to learn how to make your motion such that you bypass the center of mass. And that's going to be the topic of today's video: why the center of mass causes so many problems and what to do about it. So what is the center of mass of the golf club? Well, let's start there first. That's a very, very simple thing. It's actually what swing weight is based on as well, but it's basically the balance point of the golf club. So as I'm kind of moving here with my 7-iron here, there we go. I'm right about, my finger's right about at the center of mass of the golf club. Now, a rigid object has a very detectable center of mass. And so when you have a rigid object like a golf club, the first signal that happens when somebody holds one end of it is you can immediately feel the force of gravity pulling down on the golf club. It makes it very evident that it wants to essentially spin around its center of mass. Okay, so the impulse is to kind of prevent that from happening or to create it, either way. So most players in their golf swing, where they're struggling, is either A, they're trying to control the center of mass and make sure the club stays in a certain spot, or B, they're using the center of mass to try to actually make it swing with their golf club, or try to make it swing the golf club. Either way, it's a complicator. And until you learn how to bypass the center of mass, then you really will never understand what your true golf swing is. So the intent of a golf swing, fundamentally, is to remove the lie, or the center of mass of the golf club, and learn how to get the club head to move in an arc towards the golf ball without using the center of mass. And that's what creates the unique look of an elite golf swing. Elite golfers do their absolute best to not apply any leverage force to the golf club. Now, do they apply a little bit? Probably. Certainly when they hit bad shots, but less is better. So an easy way to just kind of understand that, just make sure you get a clear understanding, is if I just leave the golf club here, resting, okay, now I have no kind of detection of the center of mass, just holding it. If I lift it with my arm, I'm using my muscles to create kind of like a crowbar movement. I don't want any of that in my golf swing. And that's one of the challenges of a golf swing. Even when you get it started, it's difficult to get the golf club started without using it a little bit as a lever. And that's why pros spend so much time on their takeaway, is trying to get it in movement without using the center of mass. Now, what's a way that I could understand motion without the center of mass? Well, this is going to seem like non-functional to a golf swing, but if I just kind of hold it at the end like so, with my the tips, and I just start to spin, now the golf club is moving without me using the center of mass. As soon as I get in motion, there's a relative sense of this weight relative to the way my entire body is moving as a collective. And that is the skill of, for all practical purposes, throwing or swinging a golf club. So the center of mass is the one thing that is really causing the biggest issue. At any point in time in the golf swing, particularly on the forward motion, if I'm going to use the center of mass, it then causes the body to react. So the difficulty with the center of mass is that it messes up your center of gravity. So this becomes why the golf swing, why people that struggle have kind of funny looking body positions versus if we were to model them against elite golfers. So the elite golfer holds the golf club in such a way and connects to the golf club in such a way that the natural rotating and expanding, the spirals that the body make, keep everything where it needs to be in the skill of swinging a golf club. It happens so fast you can't think about it, but you can have there's a very unique sense to that. Whereas the struggling golfer, at some point in time, usually the higher the handicap, the more the distortions start early, but they seek to control the club, add speed to it, or make it go in a certain direction by locating that center of mass. When you locate the center of mass, the moment you do it, it causes the body to lose balance. So for instance, this would be a very, very simple thing to understand. If I pull too hard on my golf club, again, trying to maneuver the center of mass through the shaft, it actually will tilt my body backward. What I will do if I'm going to do that, my body learns very quickly that if I'm going to put a force in the center of mass, it will reverse its weight the other way. What does this do? Well, this stifles the system of the rotary movement of the golf swing, and it makes it stall for a moment until those forces, or that force against the shaft, that leverage force, is released, and then things can continue on naturally. So it isn't that most golfers only use leverage to swing the golf club. The problem is that when they do add leverage, it stifles the total golf swing. So we need to have a very good understanding of what it's like to move the golf club without using leverage. And so in the next segment of the video, we're going to talk about what slinging is. And slinging is the act of learning how to throw something or use a golf club without leverage. So how does one learn how to bypass the center of mass and do what I call slinging the golf club? Well, if you're looking for a trip, a tip, or a hack, there really isn't one. You have to first understand. You see, our body's learning system is very, very, very good when the images and the pictures of what we understand what we must do are allowed to drive the motion. When we confuse it with different body movement parts and trying to control the segments of our body, all we can do is apply leverage, and it stifles the whole system. So a golf swing has a fluidity and a naturalness to it, or a golf sling as I like to call it, if you understand the function. The easiest way to get the function or understand the function is to use my training tool, the Pro, and this is why all my students train with this. It is the most kind of bang for your buck, or the fastest way I can get somebody to get better is not by trying to change their positions, but it's actually trying to get them to understand the function. When the function is correct, the form changes. When you try to change the form, you're lucky if the function changes. It does sometimes. I'm not saying that all tips and tricks don't have an effectiveness here and there, but by and large, what is missing is just true understanding. So one of the sad things that I see every day I come to the driving range is I see a driving range full of people that don't understand the function of the golf motion. And if they understood the function, they'd be so much better. So how do I coach people to understand the function? Well, it's very simple. I teach them how to learn this, use this tool correctly. Is it easy? No. Does it take time? Yes. But once that is established, I can then walk them back to the golf club much, much more effectively. So really quick on how does this work? Well, this doesn't have an effective center of mass. So if I just leave this in an inert state and I try to use leverage, it just doesn't cause anything to happen. If I use leverage on the golf club, it causes a lot to happen. I can feel the way the club is pushing and pulling on me. So therefore, I have to move with this in a very different fashion. So initially, the process is just simply learning how to move it in the context of a golf swing. This oftentimes changes so much just naturally. It gets the body moving in such a way that it's starting to senses that it moves the weight in a different way. But the real cue here is to understand how to bypass the center of mass. And I know that I'm trying to locate it, even with this, if it forms an angle. So any point in time, I form an angle between the grip and the rope. Even if it's a slight one, even if it's early or it's late, that's a distortion that is actually a misuse of the golf club. It is using the center of mass to try to swing it. So the skill over time becomes, can I learn how to move this without creating any angle between the grip and the rope? And that starts to give me the slinging action of the weight. The weight wraps into my center, and then I use my body as a collective, and it expands where it's going. It is extremely efficient, and there's no speed limit on it, so once you're good at it, you can go as fast as you want. That's why longer hitters and long drive, you see that club stays in a sling for an extremely long time, not because they're holding it, but because they've conditioned their body to actually function the right way. So once you understand that, hey, I'm supposed to sling this thing, I'm not supposed to use the shaft, well, that's the first step. And then having a way to actually train that and train what that feels like and get your body used to that, then you have a chance to learn how to bring it back to the golf club. And that's exactly the process that I use in training golfers. It's not for everybody, I get it. So if you're looking for a quick body position or trick or something like that to change something, that isn't going to do it. But if you learn how to sling and you take the time to learn that and you start to understand the conditioning that your body needs to take and the suppleness and the patience it needs to learn to create a powerful sling, then you're on the right track. So if you're interested in learning more about how to sling the club and bypass the center of mass, get the club to stop lying from you, reach out to me anytime at dan@danmartingolf.com. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that lesson, and we'll see you all next time.